Good morning. Good morning. What is going on, everybody? Thank you very much for tuning in. Monday, April 7th, 7:59 a.m. I just beat 8. I just beat 8 a.m. Thank you very much for being here. Appreciate you guys being a part of the Sliwa show. We got a packed show today. Packed show. Just a little bit behind the curtains. If it wasn't a packed show, I'd still probably tell you it's a packed show. But today, it really is a packed show. We got a lot to get into. Thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you guys making the Sliwa show one of the first things you do in the morning. So I appreciate that very much. If you guys don't mind, take 2 seconds. We're about to close in on 31.4K subscribers. I think we're a few away. If I can get your subscribe this morning, I'd appreciate that. Get over that milestone and try to get a little bit closer to 32,000. Thank you very much for hanging out. We got a lot to get into today. I want to go through all the topics that we have, and I'm going to do that in just a second. Let people kind of slowly work their way in. 2 weeks from today, I will be drinking my first cup of coffee in about 50 days, and I'll be doing that with you guys. But for the time being, cheers to everyone with another cup of tea. So I've got some green tea here that I'm drinking, a little bit of honey in there as well. So 2 weeks. 2 weeks. Not going to lie, still wired, even kind of without the coffee. I think I've learned I could get wired without coffee. But 2 weeks from today, when Lent's over, Easter's done. Technically, I could do it on Easter, but I'm going to wait. I'm going to wait to have a cup of coffee with all of you guys. So we'll do that in a couple of weeks. Quote today. Got a quote for everybody here. If you can't fail, you can never be better. If you can't fail, you can never be better. That's a phenomenal quote right there. Almost encouraging us to fail. If you can't fail, you can never be better. If you got some quotes you'd like to share with everybody in the chat, feel free to do so. Let me give everyone a quick rundown what we got going on for the show today. Looking forward to obviously talking a lot of Lakers basketball after that win the Lakers had yesterday against the Oklahoma City Thunder. So here's what we got going on. Statement win in OKC. You know, we've had I've had conversations with people, and I remember after the Lakers lost to the Golden State Warriors, I've said things kind of along the lines, hey, don't overreact to the loss against the Warriors. I am going to overreact to the win against the Oklahoma City Thunder. I do feel like that deserves an overreaction, and I'll explain some of my reasons why. So we'll obviously talk about how big yesterday's game was for the Lakers, what exactly it meant. It really just colossal in the standings as well. It puts them in position to lock up one of those, probably potentially at this point, the number 3 seed. So we'll obviously get into that. Luka was dominant. Oh, Luka was dominant. I had people telling me I wasn't giving Luka enough credit after the win against the Pelicans. Yeah, there's a reason why I'm not. It's the freaking Pelicans. Yesterday, that's a completely different conversation. Yesterday against the Oklahoma City Thunder, that's a different conversation. We'll talk about Luka, how dominant he was. And really, if the Lakers are going to make a run, not telling you it's got to be perfect, but the Lakers are going to need a lot more performances like that just because that's kind of the position that they're in. Also want to look at first-round matchup. So right now, if you go look at the Western Conference, you go look at the standings, it's pretty crazy to see how many different options there are out there. But there are a couple websites that help with the playoff probabilities. So we'll go through that just to kind of look at where we think the Lakers are going to fall and who most likely would be their first round matchup. Final week of the regular season. Lakers actually have a magic number. They got to win 2 games and they lock up that number 3 spot. So we'll spend a little bit of time on that. There's a lot of interesting NBA news that's going on as well. Unfortunate news for Denver. Jamal Murray, keep an eye on how he looks over the course of, the rest of the regular season, which he may not play. They're going to try to get him ready for the playoffs. Got the weekend recap, and then we'll call it a day. So thank you very much for being here. I appreciate you guys hanging out. Busy week again for the Lakers. No game tonight. Sammy will be putting out a preview video a little bit later today. Love seeing Sammy's preview videos do well. I think he got probably maybe 3,500 views on that last one that he did, getting us ready for the Lakers Thunder game, which is awesome. So please continue to watch those. Sammy's definitely putting in some good effort there. Okay, let me look at some of the comments here before we get started, then we'll get the show started. Slee, the moment you stepped on the scene, Lakers done amazing things this season. Do you agree? I think what you're trying to say is, Slee, you deserve all the credit. You deserve all the credit. Giants in first place in the NL West. How wild is that? Padres and the Dodgers go undefeated. One goes 8-0, one goes 7-0. They play a weekend set. We'll get into that. I got that in my recap as well. And all of a sudden, the Giants find a way to be in first place in the division. Morning Slee. Luka is him. Let's get a couple more of these here. Watching from New Jersey. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you very much. Thank you for being a part of the show. London in the house. I haven't even really looked at this. I didn't even know we're doing. Are we like falling into a roll call in the morning? I didn't know. Okay. Let's keep going here. Couple more and then we'll get the show started. At work, but with you, Slee. Listen to Slee is salt and pepper from my day, my brother. I appreciate that. The universe has a wonderful sense of humor. The trick is learning how to take a joke. Okay, Chris, I like that quote. I like that right there. Get another one in here. Success is not the key to happiness. Happiness is the key to success. If you love what you are doing, you will be successful. He who dares wins. I appreciate all the quotes, guys. Thank you. Thank you for chiming in and throwing some of that stuff in. Okay, let's get the show started. Let me give you guys kind of an idea what I thought coming into yesterday's game against Oklahoma City Thunder. Simplify it for everybody. I think the goal was get a split. Get a split in OKC. What happened yesterday afternoon, if you told me what are all the scenarios you think that's going to happen tomorrow, that was not in my card. That was probably the last scenario out there where I thought the Lakers were going to walk into OKC and dominate for 4 straight quarters. Guys, it wasn't even close. I mentioned this yesterday when I was doing the post-game show. That was one of those games, if you were, not a Laker fan or not a Thunder fan, and you were tuning in and you were kind of telling yourself, hey, you know what? I just want to watch a good game. Let me give you an example. Yesterday, I watched most of that Warriors-Rockets game. And part of me was just, hey, I want to watch some good basketball. If you tuned in yesterday to try to watch good basketball between the Lakers and the Thunder, you must have been disappointed because it was not a good game. It was not a close game. And, I put here in the notes it was a statement win in OKC. I don't, I could go back and look, and I know that we have, that road win against the Denver Nuggets. I know there's some other games you could kind of probably point in there that the Lakers performed well. Yesterday afternoon, Lakers in OKC, they were flawless, literally flawless. There's not one thing I would have changed from yesterday's game. The stars played like stars. The superstars played like superstars. The defense was swarming. I mean, they made Shai Gilgeous-Alexander, Jalen Williams, go down the list of all the different players, Chet Holmgren, all the talent that the Thunder have. They made them look average. You know what OKC looked like yesterday? It's just one game. But I'll tell you what they looked like for one game. They looked like a very average team in the league. Just nothing special. A very average team in the league. The bench was perfect for the Lakers. You got great minutes from Dorian Finney-Smith, Jared Vanderbilt, Jordan Goodwin, Gabe Vincent. I know some of those specific players, it probably showed a little bit higher because they were hitting some threes. Thunder never had a shot yesterday. They never had a shot. And I didn't think that was in the cards. I just didn't. I didn't think the Lakers were walking into OKC and they were blowing them out. Like I said, I think coming into these 2 games, what you were asking for is, can you just get the split? Can you just walk away? 1 win for the Thunder, 1 win for the Lakers. You kind of move on and take your chances. Get ready for Dallas coming up on, I think they go Tuesday, Wednesday is that schedule. That was kind of the mind frame. That was kind of the thought process. That's just kind of what you assumed the Lakers were, that's what you were hoping for. Now they kind of find themselves in a position where tomorrow's game obviously becomes very, very interesting. I know the Thunder will probably, we'll see. The Thunder technically, the only thing they're still playing for is home court through the NBA Finals, them in Cleveland. While we're still talking here, I'm going to just take a quick look, and I'm going to see what the difference is between them and the Cavs. Still a 2-game cushion between them and the Cavs. So we'll see what happens in regards to that. But as far as what that game means to them, I don't know. I thought I had a certain view on the Oklahoma City Thunder on Friday, and that view was changed by the time we got to Monday. They lost to Houston, and then obviously they lost to the Lakers. But back to the Lakers now, and then we'll talk about the Thunder here in just a second. I think you do overreact to last night's win. I think you should. I really think you should. And I had some people tell me in the postgame, this game didn't mean anything for OKC. Okay, that's fine. It meant something to the Lakers, and you could tell it meant something for the Lakers. And by the way, I'm not even talking about just the matchup against the Oklahoma City Thunder, standings, holding on to that number 3 spot. Lakers were very fortunate with some other results that happened in the rest of the league yesterday as well. I don't care what it meant for the Thunder. I know it meant something for the Lakers. But I also have a difficult time trying to take anything away from what the Lakers were able to accomplish yesterday. Kind of weird the last couple of days, too. Warriors get a statement win over the Lakers. Rockets get statement wins over the Thunder and the Warriors. Lakers get a statement win over the Oklahoma City Thunder. Do you guys know that 4 of the last 5 games that the Lakers have won, or they've won 4 of their last 5. Here are the opponents that they beat: at Memphis, at OKC, home against the Rockets, and then obviously you got that Pelicans win. The only loss I think they have in that mix is the loss against the Golden State Warriors. Some good W's right there. At a time where all these games are so critical, obviously a lot of big time wins. I want to play something from Brian Windhorst, who was on Greeny's show this morning, and he's going to talk about just how big, obviously this game was for the Lakers and how bad they needed it and the reasonings why they need it and everything else. But I'm going to do that in just a second. I do want to look at everybody's comments before we get started. Let's see. Golden State and Denver have been playing too well to fall too far down. Well, it's kind of crazy. Golden State had, all the momentum, playing phenomenal. They lose one game, and all of a sudden it's like pop. They just start dropping in the standings. That's just kind of the nature of the Western Conference right now. All right, let's get another one. Historically, Lakers always matched up well with OKC. Here's the only difference. The only difference, I think, between how the Lakers have matched up against the Oklahoma City Thunder in the past, I don't think I really knew what to expect yesterday, because the first time they've played the Thunder since it's Luka and LeBron, right? So I've talked about this before. Whatever the Lakers look like with Anthony Davis leading the charge, whatever that team looked like with Anthony Davis and LeBron, whatever it looked like against Houston, whatever it looked like against Memphis, whatever it looked like against Denver, the Golden State Warriors, the Oklahoma City Thunder, you got to kind of put all that to the side. And every matchup that the Lakers have versus one of these other teams now is going to be a lot more interesting because of those reasons. It's the first time Luka and LeBron walked into Oklahoma City to take on the Thunder together. So I whatever those matchups look like in the past, I have a very difficult time, obviously seeing what that looks like or what it used to look like. The real challenge is Tuesday, game 2 of the 7-game series. I know what you're talking about. Now you got Oklahoma City's, obviously you got their full attention. They're on the verge. They obviously want to avoid losing 3 games in a row. Maybe it doesn't mean anything to them. For all I know, maybe they rest everyone tomorrow and say, all right, that's fine. Guys, if you guys want this win, go get it. Maybe that's what they do. I don't think they will, but I kind of don't care what it means to the Oklahoma City Thunder. I know for the Lakers, that's a tough game to go on the road. Does somebody want to explain to me, was Shea not playing or was he in the lineup? He was. Was Jalen Williams not in the lineup? No, he was. Was Chad Holmgren in the lineup? Yes, he was. They played every one of their guys. The only reason why a lot of these guys don't have 30 minutes plus is because the game was so lopsided. At one point, Mark Dagenot of the Oklahoma City Thunder was like, all right, I'm just going to pull my guys. There's no reason to play him. Okay, this is the significance of the win. I want to grab something here. Brian Windhorst was on, let me make sure I got this queued up right. Brian Windhorst was on with Mike Greeny, with Greenberg, and he's talking about, obviously this Lakers win. And just listen to how big of a win this was in his eyes. I want you guys to take a quick listen to this. Let me get this all queued up here. All right, here's Brian Windhorst on the Lakers win over the Oklahoma City Thunder.
Perfect day for the Lakers. Everything went as great as it possibly could, not just on the court, but elsewhere in the NBA. One of the things that has been happening for the Lakers, Luka has not had that step back working. The Thunder put their big men on him. He stepped back, started hitting threes over the top of them. It was a historically great three-point shooting day for the Lakers. That delivered that victory. They also did a great job holding Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. No free throws. This is a guy that has led the NBA in free throws this year and last year.
I want to stop something real quick, and I'm going to keep that video going. I know there's going to be a lot of people saying, guys, if the Lakers hit that many threes, they're never going to lose a game. You're not wrong there. Lakers obviously were in their threes. They tied a franchise record with 15 in the first half, tied a franchise record with 22. I'm not here not trying to tell you that everybody from the Lakers was hitting threes. Let me actually see who everyone from the three-point perspective. Rui hit 2. LeBron only shot 1, hit his 1. Luka hit 5. Austin Reeves hit 7. No, I'm sorry. Austin Reeves hit 4. Luka hit 5. Dorian Finney-Smith hit 4. Gabe Vincent hit 4. Bronny James hit 1. Dalton Connect hit 1. This is obviously late in the game. Everybody was hitting. I get that. I understand that. Lakers didn't win the game because they hit 22 threes. Lakers won that game is because OKC couldn't hit a shot because of how good Lakers defense was. I mean, if you go look at the shooting percentage from a lot of their other players, Jalen Williams was 4 of 14. Shai, pretty good night, 12 of 23, but 23 shot attempts to get 26 points, never took a free throw. Lakers also weren't fouling these guys and just keep them at the free throw line. I think Shai averages 11 free throws a game. Go down the list. Kenrick Williams was 1 of 4 from 3. Alex Caruso was 1 of 4. Isaiah Joe was 2 of 5. Aaron Wiggins was 0 for 3. They also held a lot of these players. Alex Caruso was 3 of 9 from the field. Kenrick Williams 2 of 7. They also held a lot of these players to terrible shooting percentages, which is why the Lakers got the win. Yes, I understand they were hitting threes, but something you got to keep in mind, the Lakers defense was why they won that game yesterday.
They kept him off the line. Perfect. But then it was what happened elsewhere. Unexpected, the Rockets, who had a huge weekend, go into Golden State and win. The Pacers go into Denver and win. What that means is that the Lakers have a 2-game lead in the loss column between 3rd and 4th, and they've got tiebreakers against everybody. They are now in brilliant position, about a 75% chance, according to BPI, to get the 3 seed. They need 2 more wins this week to lock it down. Getting the 3 seed is where you want to be in the West. The Lakers move, plus what else happened in the NBA today, paved the way for them to get that desired number 3 seed.
And then if I could.
All right, we'll stop it right there. Good stuff from Brian Windhorst. Always good stuff from him. That gives you just kind of a little bit of an idea how other people are looking at this win for the Lakers. And just like I said, how significant it was for the Lake Show. That's as big of a win as you can get. I mean, you want to chalk this up any way you want. That's as big of a regular season win that you can get. And it was just it makes me think, I'm gonna transition real quick here because I think there's a couple of things. It makes me think my view of the Oklahoma City Thunder changed after yesterday. My view of the Thunder. Now, when you have as good of a record as they do, when there's so many games over 500 like they are, when they were flirting with potentially 70 wins, I think now the most they can get is 68. They're sitting at 64 wins. I'm not trying to tell you that the Oklahoma City Thunder aren't good. I'm not telling you that they can't still represent the Western Conference, but my thoughts after this weekend watching the Oklahoma City Thunder and continuing to watch the Cleveland Cavaliers kind of struggle. They're limping their way into the playoffs. They lost another game at home yesterday where everybody played against the Sacramento Kings. My thoughts on those two teams is you can have the number 1 slot in the West. You could have the number 1 slot in the Eastern Conference. Those are not locks at all. And I never thought the Cavs would be a lock because of the Boston Celtics. I think everybody just believed that, well, Boston is still Boston. By the way, they won 9 of 10. They're clicking at the right time. But the OKC thing really threw me off. OKC their last two games, they've lost by a total of 41 points. 41 points. That's interesting. And the Thunder weren't missing players. They had everybody there. Yesterday was probably the first time that have looked at the Thunder in the last month and said, okay, everything is supposed to run through the Oklahoma City Thunder. They lost by 14 against the Houston Rockets on Friday, and they followed that up with a 27-point loss to the Lakers on Sunday. And in both of those games, they were dominated. They were dominated. I watched part of that game on Friday night, and there was never any indication that you thought that the Oklahoma City Thunder were going to come back in that game. It just felt like Houston controlled the game. Lakers yesterday controlled the game. I know you can't allow a 2-game losing streak to take away the 64 wins that they've had this year. And I'm not trying to take it all away. But what I'm trying to say is the West is open. It's open. And for those that, and I always kind of fell on the lines of this of, well, they don't have enough experience. They don't, you know what? No, they got to get there before, you say everything runs through them. But they were mopping teams in the NBA. Their defensive rating, historic defensive rating. They got arguably the MVP in Shai Gilgeous-Alexander. I don't know what I just saw in these last 2 games, but these last 2 games, that changed my perspective about the Oklahoma City Thunder. All right, let's start looking at some of your comments here, and then I want to spend some time talking about Luka. Celtics are trash. They're not trash. I think, Josh, you just don't like the Celtics, which is fine. However, that's a good team. That's a really, really good team. Listen to OKC postgame. They have their head on straight, not blaming, problem solving. Okay? I'm gonna have to go back and take a look at that. I'll have to take a look, or maybe I'll try to get one of them on as a guest. Dallas game going to be more important than Tuesday's game now. Well, I'll tell you this. I don't care how you slice and dice it, get one of those 2 games, right? So if it's the Dallas one you win, if Lakers lost to the Thunder yesterday and they split that, that 1-1, fine, is what it is. It's kind of like, to be honest with you, I think anybody would have said, yeah, that works. Now, when you get the first game, you start getting greedy. But I agree with you that Dallas game's a little sneaky. Dallas game's sneaky for a couple of reasons. Number one, and I'll talk about, the final few games of the regular season, but it's sneaky because it's a second of a back-to-back, and Dallas is still playing for some seeding here. They haven't locked up anything. If their goal obviously is to lock up the one of the play-in spots, I think their goal is to lock up the number 9 spot. Well, Sacramento out of nowhere won yesterday. So the best thing for the Dallas Mavericks they got going for them is that the Phoenix Suns they've lost 6 games in a row. And they got a 2-game cushion over the Phoenix Suns. I don't know who has a tiebreaker. My point is Dallas is still playing for something. All right, let's see what else we got here. Thunder are rattled by the Lakers. If the Lakers can continue to play defense like this, then we're in the finals. Yeah, their defense was incredible. That's why, sometimes it sucks because when your squad plays as good as they do, as far as, obviously the way the Lakers played yesterday offensively, it takes away from what the Lakers do defensively. So they were phenomenal on defense yesterday. All right, let's see what we got here. All right, we got people going back and forth, bickering at each other. That's okay. We're all right with that. Okay, I want to talk Luka here. Let me just get this in here real quick. Sergeant Dude, thank you for the super, brother. I appreciate you very much. Listen to the Locked On Thunder pod, and many comments mention they want Lakers at 3rd, so they avoid us. Lakers are the team people are afraid of. It's weird, guys. I got to be honest. The matchups are really, really weird. They're really, really weird. Let me actually just do this right now because we're talking about it. So there is, I think I mentioned this yesterday. Oh, I'm sorry, last week. There's a site, Basketball Reference has projected standings and playoff probability. Here's where the Lakers are right now. And if OKC fans want to avoid the Lakers till potentially the Western Conference Finals, which, by the way, I said that a ton as well. I'd like to avoid the Oklahoma City Thunder until the Western Conference Finals. It had more to, not wanting to be in that number 4 or 5 spot because you thought you would play the Golden State Warriors in the first round, then get OKC in the second round, and then, whoever's remaining after that. I mean, hell, that could be the Houston Rockets for the way that they're playing. So right now, the probability of where the Lakers, what their seeding is in the first round. Let me actually share this. Can I share this properly here? Or the numbers all jacked up? No, I could do it. I want to share it with you guys because I think you guys will enjoy looking at where the Lakers are going to be and most likely who would actually play the Lakers. So let me share this with everybody. So this is Basketball Reference, like I mentioned. So look at this here, okay? Here's the number 1 seed, Oklahoma City Thunder. The number 2 seed, the Houston Rockets, have a 99.7% chance of locking up the number 2 seed. Okay, what does that basically mean? I'm sure it just means this. Houston would have to lose the rest of their games. Lakers would have to win the rest of their games. Houston winning at Golden State yesterday pretty much took the number 3 seed out of the mix or the number 2 seed out of the mix for the Lakers. That's okay. To be honest with you, I also think it's probably almost better to kind of have a little bit of cushion here at that number 3 spot. Okay, odds for the Lakers to grab the number 3 spot. They have a 71.7% chance of getting that number 3 spot. You got to win 2 of your final 4 games, and it's a wrap. It's a wrap, however you want to look at it. I mean, for me, in an ideal world, they win 2 of the next 3, and then Sunday against the Pelicans, Sunday against the Portland Trailblazers, you're chilling. Yeah, I'm giving my guys, I'm giving everybody the day off. You don't got to play against Portland, and you get 1 full week of rest and practice before the NBA playoffs start. We'll see what happens in regards to that. 71.7% chance of locking up the number 3 seed. Okay, Lakers would obviously play the number 6 seed. Right now, here are the highest odds for the number 6 seed. They're all very, very close. It just shows you how many different opponents they could play. Denver is the highest odds at the number 6 seed with 21.4%. Clippers are the second highest odds at 19.8%. Minnesota, 19%. Memphis 17.6, Golden State 17.7. Basically, it's a freaking coin flip. There are still 5 teams within a 4% percentage standpoint that you could potentially still play in the first round. It's a toss-up. There is absolutely no guarantee who you're going to play in the first round. Nobody has any idea. And it shows you. I mean, I guess the highest one on there is Denver. Okay, if I had to ask everybody, and let's just pretend everybody's healthy, because I don't know what's going to happen to Denver, and I don't know what's going to happen to Jamal Murray. But just to go back to the super here, and again, I appreciate the super. Lakers are the team people are afraid of. It's all matchups. Maybe OKC just doesn't want the Lakers because it's a bad matchup for them. But I think Houston's a tough matchup for the Lakers. I think Golden State's an interesting matchup for the Lakers, right? That's not a lock or anything along those lines. I don't know what the hell the Clippers are. I know they keep balling, and now they're all of a sudden in the number 5 spot. So if I had to throw it out there, and I want to read some of these here, and if you've lobbed in some supers, I know we got some supers coming in. I'll get to all of you. Got some new members a part of the show as well. I appreciate you guys being new members. But if I had to throw out there, who do you want in the first round? You guys saw all those scenarios that were out there. Who do you want? What team of the teams that I just kind of lobbed up there would you like to see the Lakers face in the first round? It's probably going to be that 3-6 matchup. Like I said, it's probably going to be that 3-6 matchup. That's the way things are starting to look. That's the way things are obviously starting to play out here. So give me your thoughts on that. I'd love to get everybody's opinion on that. And I'm going to start reading those in just a second here. Before I do, I got to give a shout out here to our partner. So thank you very much to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. Big Laker fan, by the way. Guy texted me during game, Slee, what's going on here? I'm like, Brad, I'm not sure. I think he thinks I have like an earpiece to JJ Redick. And he's like, tell JJ this. Personal friend of mine, somebody I've known for about 5 years now. He's been running his practice for about 10 years. I hope you never need him. He is an injury attorney. And I hope you and your family are never in, a situation or a position where you need Brad Wallace, but things happen in life. And the best thing you could do is just be prepared when they do happen to get the best in the business if something were to happen. And I got somebody that I think can certainly help you if you're ever in a predicament or situation. If you're in the state of California, if you or someone close to you has been seriously injured or is dealing with the loss of a loved one, you should find out what legal options you have. You deserve the absolute best in the business. You deserve the right legal team backing you. When it comes to holding insurance companies accountable and maximizing case results, go to my guy, Brad Wallace, and the legal team over at the Wallace firm. They're the real deal. They consistently win big injury and wrongful death cases, and you can't and you won't pay them until they win their case for you. So it's really simple. We got a URL here, wallacewins.com/Sliwa. wallacewins.com/Sliwa. You can get a free consultation right there. He can help anybody in the state of California. And if you want a personal introduction, I'm happy to make one as well. If you're in a situation where you're like, all right, not sure what to do here. I know Alan, he's partnered with Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. You want to send me a personal email, I'm happy to get involved any way I can to make that introduction to Brad Wallace. So shout out to them. Shout out to the Wallace firm. Okay. Let me now go through, like I mentioned, I want to read some of your comments of who people want to see in the first round. Who, again, this really does come down to this. I want you guys to keep this in mind. It really, really comes down to matchups. It's not that team is just automatically better than the other team. It really has more to do with what matchup is the best matchup you think for the Lakers. All right, let me read some of these here. I'm going to try to go back far enough to where you guys started throwing teams on here. And then, all right, here we go. Clippers, no travel. Okay? I think Lakers beat the Clippers in a 7-game set, but I also don't know what the hell happened to the Clippers where they're just starting to beat teams. Let's take a look here. Clippers have won 8 of their last 10 games. Who they beating? They beating good teams or no? 2 against Dallas, 1 against the Pelicans, at the Magic, lost against the Cavs. Beat the Nets, beat the Knicks without Jalen Brunson, lost against the Thunder, but only by 2. Beat the Grizzlies, beat the Cavs, beat the Hornets, beat the Hawks, beat the Heat. Okay. I mean, to be honest with you, and I'm not really trying to take too much away from them, they got a lot of teams here that are beatable. They did beat the Pistons. They did beat New York. Give them some credit. They do have a win against the Cavs. They did beat the struggling Grizzlies. Not the most impressive list, but they're winning games. I think I mentioned this last week. I saw Brad Wallace, I saw Brad Turner, writes for the LA Times. I saw him at a Laker game, and I asked him. He does kind of both, covers the Clippers and the Lakers. I'm like, BT, what's going on with the Clippers? Are they good? He's like, they're good. I'm like, but are they good? He's like, they're good. Kawhi's playing, consistently. James Harden is doing his thing. They got a lot of bench players. They got a lot of role players. They play really good defensively. I take my chances against the Clippers. Here's one. I'm thinking Denver. I'll take Denver. Okay. Grizzlies to me are the most wobbly team. Grizzlies to me, I'm not 100% sure what that squad is. They don't all seem connected. I think they're wildly immature. And they've been in the playoffs enough to where they should be, none of this should be a surprise to them anymore. But I'm with you on Memphis. They got talent, but are they all connected? And that part, I don't think they are. Okay, here's one. Got to avoid Denver at all costs. If Jamal Murray is healthy, which there's a big if on Jamal Murray, it's in some of my NBA news, then I don't think Denver's beating the Lakers. I don't think Denver's getting getting far without Jamal Murray. They got to have Jamal Murray. They just have to. He's such a key piece. If he's the second best player off any team, how far are they going to go in the playoffs? As great as Nikola Jokic is, as great of a season Aaron Gordon's having, as streaky, and if Michael Porter's got to go and he could drop 50 on any or 30 on any given night, they got to have Jamal Murray. So that's going to be interesting. A lot of people putting here the Clippers. A lot of people want the Clippers in the first round. Okay, like literally a lot of A lot of people want the Clippers. Clippers are the team I'm worried about the least. I would still rather play Memphis than the Clippers. Here's what the Clippers are. They got a championship caliber coach in Ty Lue. They got Kawhi Leonard if he's healthy. We obviously know he's been able to win in the playoffs. They got guys that play defense, role players. They seem more connected to me than Memphis. A couple people got Grizzlies on here. Memphis or Grizzlies. You know who nobody's saying? Nobody's saying the Golden State Warriors. Obviously nobody's talking about the Warriors. Who else did I keep out of that mix? Nobody's really saying Minnesota either. Tim, what happened to you, bro? Timothy. Tim, you're gone, bro. What an idiot. I mean, if you just say normal things, it's okay. If you say dumb stuff and you're disrespectful, what do you want me to do, Tim? What's wrong with this guy? Jesus, Timothy. By the way, I saw the comment. He said Thunder in 6. That's okay. I'm okay with that. But what are you doing? What an idiot. All right, we're done. We're done with that guy. If he wants to come on the chat and have a real conversation. By the way, his dumbass could have easily came on yesterday and said, you know what? Hey, I didn't realize the Lakers were going to beat the Thunder. But is what it is. Gotta love the chest out on the keyboard. A lot of strong people on the keyboard. All right, there was somebody else in here. I want to see. There was a couple other. Honestly, who cares who we play? We have LeBron and Luka, and they are playing out of their mind. All right. Some people don't care. Other people, guys, it's not about. I know we could all kind of just sit here and say, "Oh, we'll take on anybody." I think more the question to me is, what matchup do you think would be the best for the Lakers? Which one would be the toughest for the Lakers? That's kind of what I'm referring to when I do say that. All right, let me get a couple comments in here, and then there's a few others I want to get into. John Way, why didn't your perspective change on the Lakers when they gave up 146 to the Bulls after getting blown out by Milwaukee? I think our perspective did change. I think when they lost to Chicago the way they did, and they gave up 146, I don't think anybody came on here and made an excuse for the Lakers. Nobody did. Chicago demolished the Lakers. Just took them out. By the way, it wasn't too many games after where the Thunder then blew out Chicago by 30 or 40 points or whatever it was. That was a terrible loss. But do you want to ignore the last 5 games that the Lakers have played? Because I can't ignore the last 5 games the Lakers have played. And I heard LeBron say yesterday, usually we struggle more against teams below 500. I heard Luka say yesterday, when you know the matchup is bigger, it's just you take on that challenge and it's more, you mentally, they're more prepared, I guess you can call it. Nobody's not paying attention to giving up 146 to the Bulls. But since they gave up 146 to the Bulls, and then they lost that game in Chicago, remember, there was a few games after that. They won at Memphis. They won at OKC. They beat Houston at home. They lost to the Golden State Warriors, and I don't care about the Pelicans game. Pelicans game, it is what it is. Nobody's not paying attention to bad games that they had, but am I supposed to just pretend they didn't have the performance they did yesterday? That's impossible. John, I appreciate you. You're always in the chat, and you're on here, and you're throwing supers. I appreciate you. But my brother, you will find half glass empty even if it's 3/4 of the way full. That's just every comment out there. That's typically how it is. And I don't mind them. You could throw them in here. But literally if 3/4 of the cup is full, you'll tell me that it's half empty. All right, let's get another one in here. Anthony, thank you for the super sticker. I appreciate you, brother. Appreciate that very much. Harvest comes in here. By the way, we got a couple new members we're going to have to welcome in here as well. LeBron is in position where he can activate his superpowers whenever and doesn't have to be 100% all game. From a league perspective, this was an unnecessary confidence boost going into the playoffs. I don't know about unnecessary. I think it was necessary. I think it was necessary. Harvest, thank you for the 10 spot. I appreciate it. By the way, anybody who disagrees with me on any of these comments, I don't want to discourage anyone from having a different opinion. But obviously, I'm going to, obviously go back as well if I disagree with you. But that's okay. Disagreements, there's nothing wrong with them at all. Harvest, appreciate the 10 spot. Let me answer this real quick, and it's actually going to get me into my next point. And I know exactly what you're talking about. LeBron yesterday for the first half, you didn't really feel like it was LeBron. I didn't really feel LeBron's presence. I started feeling LeBron's presence. Was it third quarter or maybe early fourth quarter where LeBron was kind of like, all right, I feel good. Let me get going here. Hitting tough fadeaways, hitting shots, baseline, Oklahoma City Thunder bench looking at him like, this dude's still doing this at 40. But I think the point you're trying to make, and I haven't even talked about Luka yet, and I want to talk about Luka. The point that you're trying to make is if LeBron's in a position where his foot doesn't have to be on the gas pedal on offense for 48 minutes, that opens up a whole different kind of opportunity, I think, for LeBron James and the Lakers. I had it here in my notes. I was taking some notes this morning, kind of getting ready for the show. And I thought Luka was special yesterday. And I have here that he has to be the best player on the court for the Lakers to make a deep run. Yesterday against Shai Gilgeous, LeBron's on the court, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, Austin Reeves. I'm just naming some of the guys. But really, if you want me to minimize it, here was who was on the floor yesterday. Shai Gilgeous, LeBron James, and Luka Doncic. He was the best player between those three players. He was the best player on the floor yesterday. And I think, Harvest, the point that you're trying to make is the more Luka is the best player on the floor, the better shot Lakers got on making a deep run, because it shouldn't be LeBron at this point. It just shouldn't. And it can't be. If Luka's having games, LeBron had a much better game than Luka against the Golden State Warriors. Warriors won that game. That wasn't a good enough performance from Luka. Yesterday, Luka was special. He's the best player on the floor, and it wasn't even close. It wasn't even close. I don't care what Shai did. I don't care what LeBron did. And LeBron didn't have a bad game, but LeBron got to pick and choose when he wanted to be LeBron. Austin Reeves had a phenomenal game yesterday as well. Austin Reeves, I thought, was good. But Luka was the best player. He did what he wanted when he wanted. He was efficient. Got to the free throw line. Did it against the Thunder, not the Pelicans. That, to me, was what was so important about yesterday's game. You got his best performance. I know I've referenced this a couple times. There are people hitting me on the post-game chat on Friday saying, you're not giving Luka enough credit about what he did. What do you want me to say about Luka having a good game against the Pelicans? Frankly, I don't give a shit. They're going to beat the Pelicans. No problem. What are you doing against the Oklahoma City Thunder on the road? He was slicing and dicing the Oklahoma City Thunder. Stars go by a different standard. And by the way, it almost kind of bothers me that I have to explain this to some people, that stars don't get, the treatment they get is different than everybody else. Luka came to the Los Angeles Lakers with the expectation of being a top 5 player in the league. Do you want me to treat him like a top 20 player in the league? Because I'm not going to do that. I'm going to treat him like the top 5 player in the league, like he's supposed to be. And when he has performances like the game against the Golden State Warriors, and really, frankly, since he's been a Laker, he's had some good performances here and there. He's had a couple great performances. Okay, who are those great performances against? One was at Denver. One was against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Those are two that come to mind right out the gate. When you have performances like that against some of the elite teams in the NBA on the road, that's what makes you special. I'm not gonna bring my bar down for Luka so that people feel like I'm complimenting him more. He's Luka freaking Doncic. There's a reason why people say that this was the most lopsided trade in NBA history. They say that because Luka's supposed to be one of the best players in the league. One of the best players in the league goes on the road and does what Luka did yesterday. That's got to be wildly encouraging for Laker fans out there saying, and by the way, a complete disruption to other teams saying, Jesus, Lord, Luka's going to be the best player on this team. Luka's going to be the best player on the floor, and they still have LeBron, and they still got Austin Reeves, and they got these other players as well that know their role and that play defense and everything else. I think this comment from Harvest is a phenomenal comment because I think it solidifies my point of trying to say, Lakers make a run, Luka's got to be the best player on the court. And that's no disrespect to LeBron. It's if Luka's game is on point, I'm not worried about LeBron. LeBron's game is going to be on point. Reeves, most likely, his game is going to be on point. All right, let's read some of the comments here. Yeah, it's just not happening. I am not, there is no world where I'm taking down my expectation of what I think Luka is supposed to be as a Laker. Period. Like there is, I am not, it's impossible for me. I've seen Luka dismantle organizations. He did it to the Phoenix Suns. He's done it to the Los Angeles Clippers. He did it against the Oklahoma City Thunder last year in the playoffs. If you think that I'm going to cater because a couple people are saying, well, you're being too tough on Luka. Luka's the guy is supposed to be one of the best players in the NBA. That's what comes with the territory. How much do people bitch and complain about LeBron when he doesn't have a good game? You want to know why? Because he's the elite of the elite. You expect only the best. How many different times will you'll have LeBron have a game go 38-8, but went 1 of 7 from the 3-point line, and all the comments are bitching and complaining about LeBron? That's the territory that comes with the greats. And that's what Luka's supposed to be for the Lakers. And yesterday he was, step back 3 on Isaiah Hartenstein, step back 3 against Chet, getting to the basket, making Lou Dort look like he's not even a phenomenal defensive player, and he's one of the best defensive players in the NBA. Comes with the territory. All right, let's see what else we got here. Luka is best offensively, but only offensively. Okay, I don't argue that. Nikola Jokic is a 3-time MVP, not because of his defense. Okay, I'm not arguing that at all. Let's see what else we got here. Have the Lakers and the Clippers ever met in the playoffs? Never met before. Never. Understandably a little shook from the trade. Who wouldn't be? He's good now. He's been here for long enough. I think. And by the way, I think the first 10 games or so, that's highly into consideration. I'm sure by this point, Luka's feeling like Luka. So yeah, I was watching the game yesterday as Luka was draining threes and putting on Olajuwon moves and finals came to, and a lot on Olajuwon moves and finals came to my mind. By the way, I don't, you can think that way. I will tell you this. Lakers clearly have to play almost perfect basketball. And I'm not telling you that they can't do that in a 7-game set 4 times. Obviously, you got 3 rounds, get to the NBA final. The West is so up in the air. You can tell me 5 different things you could probably sell me on. What you can't sell me on is, the Memphis Grizzlies. You can't sell me on you can't really sell me on the Clippers making a finals run. You can't really sell me on a Timberwolves making a finals run. But you can sell me on Golden State. You can sell me on the Lakers. You can sell me on Thunder. And frankly, you can sell me on the Houston Rockets as well. Denver, they're going to need help, and they're going to need Jamal Murray to be healthy. LeBron set a tone early on playing solid defense, sacrificing offense a bit. Did you see him yelling at Rui for not hustling for rebounds? Oh, Lakers weren't messing around yesterday. They weren't messing around yesterday. That was a big win. If they'd have lost that game, if things broke the other way yesterday, and let's say Golden State won, and let's say Denver won, and Lakers lost, you're now looking at, hey, this team can fall to the 6th seed, the 7th seed. There was still a lot of different scenarios that would play out. Luckily for the Lakers, they got a lot of tiebreakers, so that's what's going to help them. But there were still a ton of things that could play out if they lost yesterday. And I'm not telling you that I expected them, but coming into the game, you thought Warriors at home with the way they're playing, Denver at home against the Indiana Pacers. I know Jamal Murray didn't play. And the Lakers on the road against Oklahoma City Thunder. You easily could have told yourself, hey, there are a lot of scenarios that can play against the Lakers on this day. AR this year may break out this playoffs. AR is just quietly effective. Let me give some love to AR real quick. I want to look at some of AR's. I want to look at. I want to see a couple of his stats. I just want to really see his last 5 games or so, what he's done. By the way, on the season, AR, 70 games played, 20 points a game, 6 assists, 4.5 rebounds. Get the F out of here. This guy's making $13 to $15 million a year. What the hell are you talking about? Here's AR. He had 31, 8, and 7 against Memphis, 31 and 6 against Golden State, 30 and 7 against the Pelicans, 20 points yesterday against the Oklahoma City Thunder. Only had 3 assists. The one bad game he had was against Houston, and that was 12 points and 8 rebounds. Yeah, AR is. I don't think anybody has anything negative to say about Austin Reeves. Okay, let's see. I'm going to put something in here, and I tend to do this when I get new members that come. I want to give a shout out to a couple new members that we have on the show. By the way, if this is the first time you're hanging out here, or maybe you've been on here for a long time, you just have yet to subscribe, please subscribe to the channel. You guys know that I'm definitely rolling up my sleeves and trying to put as much content as I can out. Monday through Friday, I'm doing the show at 8 a.m., reacting to every post-game show of the Lakers. However far the Lakers go, I'm going to be doing a lot of post-game shows during the playoffs as well. I want to do kind of like a nighttime post-game as the playoffs go on as well. If you guys don't mind subscribing, would greatly appreciate that. I want to give a shout out to a couple new members that have decided to join the squad here. MVP members. Link Hammer, thank you for being a member, brother. I really, really appreciate you doing that. Very, very nice of you to do that. Joseph Brandt, thank you very much for being a member. Really, really appreciate that as well. It costs $3 it costs $3 a month to be a member. I'm putting a link right here in the bio. I do live shows for members every Friday, probably around 10 a.m. is when I do them. Try to get as good of an idea of what they like about the channel. They help me game plan for the following week coming up. We talk about the last week, so special emojis on here. And if you just want to support the channel, $3 a month. So it's a great way to do it. Thank you to our new members. All right, let's take a look at some more of these comments here. All right, let's see what we got here. Yeah, link is there if you guys want to be a member. Slee, I don't see a scenario where we trade AR unless it's for a superstar the way he is playing. I agree. Yeah, I agree. And I think the franchise really likes Austin Reeves. They like how he came up through the farm system, if you want to call it that, for the Lakers, and has had the impact that he has. So the only negative on Austin Reeves is next year will be his final year of his contract, and then he's got a player option. And you know what happens? Go make your money. I think I mentioned this, you guys. Who was it that was Bill Simmons was doing his podcast. This was like a month ago. And he was just so angry at the San Antonio Spurs that they didn't offer him more money, so that either he went to San Antonio or that the Lakers weren't forced to pay him more, $13 to $14 million a year. You kidding me? All right. Where did I want to go from here? I got a couple other comments I'm going to get into real quick. You know what? No, I'm going to wait on those comments. We'll get to those. I got a couple supers that I'll get to in just a second. I had a couple other things that I wanted to get into real quick that I'm going to mention here as we're getting a little bit closer to the show ending. I mentioned Luka was phenomenal. I mentioned who you want to see in the first round. Final week of the regular season. So this is it. 4 games left. You got one more left against the Oklahoma City Thunder. You got Dallas later in the week, which is going to be a fun game. Really, really fun game coming up. I'm doing a separate video, just kind of a standalone video on its own on LeBron and Anthony Davis. I'm going to be probably putting that out on Wednesday, and that's going to be a fun game. Then you got the Houston Rockets, which, listen, Houston might have locked up the number 2 seed by the time we get to Friday. I don't know how important that game is going to be for Houston. I don't. By the way, the Lakers could have locked up the number 3 seed by the time we get to Friday. Is there a little bit from Houston and a little bit of the Lakers that's like, all right, you know what? If we see each other in the playoffs, we see each other in the playoffs. I don't know how that's going to work out. But you got, I think by the time you get to Friday, I think teams are still playing. I think, even if it's locked up, we'll see. But you go Thunder, at Dallas, home against the Rockets, and then on the road against the Portland Trail Blazers. In a perfect world, I think we all know Lakers are not, they're not messing with the number. They're not going to get that number 2 spot. In a perfect world, if you can lock up everything by the time Friday is all done, and the number 3 spot it's legitimized, that's it, it's done, it's in stone, it'd be really, really nice for the Lakers to have that Sunday game at 12:30 on April 13th, where the Lakers are taking on the Portland Trail Blazers at 12:30. And it'd be really nice for the Lakers not to have to worry about playing anybody. Give them a full week off. Start working on your practices. By the time Sunday's all done, you'll know who you're playing in the first round. You don't have to worry about the play-in tournament as well of like, all right, who's our matchup going to be? You can literally start game planning. It's the Clippers, it's the Grizzlies, it's Denver, it's Golden State, it's Minnesota. It's one of those 5 teams. They could start game planning for any one of those teams. All right, NBA news that I mentioned. Denver Nuggets. I'm going to read this here. This was on ESPN, and really, really feel bad for Jamal Murray and for the Denver Nuggets. I mean, I've said this before. At the end of the day, you want squads to have their squad. And Jamal Murray's an easy dude to root for in the NBA. I know he's hit game winner after game winner against the Lakers, so maybe Laker fans don't agree with that. But I'm a fan of his game. Jamal Murray sat out his 5th consecutive game for Denver because of a strained right hamstring. And this is what Coach Malone said. Hopefully, his star point guard would be back for the start of the NBA playoffs. His quote is weird. He said, this is what he said here. Jamal's hurt. It's not being careful. He's hurt. This has been a weird one. It was day to day. The next thing you know, it's not day to day. So obviously a big loss for us. But we have more than enough. We've shown that time and time again in this locker room. Okay, he goes on to think. The point that he's trying to make, he's hoping that Jamal Murray is back for the playoffs. And that's really all that he's saying. Obviously he's had injury history in the past, but every Laker fan knows if Jamal Murray's not healthy for the Denver Nuggets, I don't know what to tell you. You're not going to have very much success if you're Denver. And that seems to be the position that the Nuggets are in right now. That kind of everything is going to fall on the shoulders of whether he's healthy or not. Nikola Jokic is incredible. Got to have help. You need help. And, right now is obviously that's going to be a big-time question. And, Nuggets have been reeling. They've lost 4 games in a row. And some of these games you can't really justify. Some of these games they've sat out their stars. That's how important Jamal Murray is. So I don't think there's really any other way to put it. That's how important he is. Jalen Brunson is back for the New York Knicks. So he came back from that ankle sprain that he had actually against the Lakers. Knicks ended up beating the Suns. So he's back. He was out for about a month. So Knicks will be ready to go for the playoffs. All right, let me look at some of the comments here, and then we'll get the weekend recap going, and then we'll call it a day. Let's get some more in here. Harvest. Hardest matchup. Sooner is better for this team. You're saying if they got a tough matchup, it's better that they face them earlier in the playoffs than later. Got to be honest with you, that's not good if that's the case. I actually think the Lakers, once they get to the playoffs, I think the water is kind of the dust is settling. The water is getting calm. You got all your players back. You got a chance to play a lot of these players. Rui now is back into basketball form. LeBron looks like he's back into, getting his breath under him and good to go. And for this final week of the season, I actually really like where the Lakers are positioned because in the past where we used to say, guys are going to get tired and this and that, it's not that the Lakers haven't had their foot on the gas. They have. But the Lakers are going to be in a position for the first time in many, many years where they don't have to worry about the play-in tournament. They're going to get to rest a week before the playoffs start. And then once the playoffs start, guys, you're not playing back-to-backs anymore. You'll get, like, let me use this Thunder series, this 2-game set against Oklahoma City. They arrived in OKC probably on Saturday, and they're not leaving OKC until Tuesday. There isn't a lot of travel. And the travel that you're going to have once the playoffs start, all right, obviously if they're fortunate enough to play the Clippers, then there is no travel. But if it's Minnesota, you're going to spend a few days in Minnesota. You're going to spend a few days in LA. It's not that big of a deal. It's not like, I think it's been in the past. And a lot of times Lakers have had their foot on the gas just to make the play-in tournament and to position themselves at number 7. They're not going to have to worry about that this year. And they're definitely not going to have to worry about additional games once they wrap up, obviously that number 3 seed. So I think they're okay in regards to that. Proves none of this matters until the playoffs. John, I don't disagree with you. You know what? We could have watched the Lakers do what they just did against OKC, and then Thunder in a 7-game set, maybe they beat the Lakers in 5. We'll have to wait and see. Maybe they don't even play the Thunder because OKC gets bounced in the second round and Lakers get to the Western Conference Finals, or both teams get bounced in the second round. But I do think matchups matter, and I think there's certain teams you want to face and certain teams you don't. I appreciate all the supers here. Thank you for the supers. Harvest, you had 2 of them today, so I appreciate you very much. Nick T, Luka's a crybaby. LeBron is just deferring to help Luka out. LeBron doesn't get enough credit for sacrificing his numbers to appease crybaby Luka. Nick, let me tell you something. Okay? You can call him a crybaby. You can call him a whiner. You can call him a complainer, which, by the way, he does that a lot. And I'm not telling you that he doesn't. I think the worst that I've seen of Luka this year is when he's paying so much attention to the referees and not enough attention to, obviously to the game, or he's bitching and complaining or whatever the case is. You give me 37-6, 11 of 20 from the field with 5 threes, and I'll take that crybaby on my squad anytime. A lot of good players bitch and complain. I wish it didn't happen, but it does. Luka complains a lot. I think what you just said about, and by the way, I don't even know why the hate on Luka in your comment here, and maybe it's just to hype up LeBron a little bit more. Do you think LeBron's a smart basketball player? Do you think LeBron's an intelligent basketball player? Do you think LeBron wants to win? Because I think he does. The portion that you said here, LeBron doesn't get enough credit for sacrificing his numbers to appease Luka. You think LeBron knows what he's doing? You think LeBron knows that if the Lakers are going to make a deep run and if he's got a shot at making another NBA Finals and giving himself a chance at championship number 5 for the championship number 5 in his career, do you think LeBron also just happens to understand that's the best route of him getting there? I think LeBron's been brilliant with Luka. I think he's been brilliant because it also shows he can play off the ball. And I think it also shows that he can adapt in any situation and still be successful in the league. I think that's what makes LeBron brilliant. But LeBron's also not an idiot. He understands I got a top 5 player in the league. And if I could now not have my foot on the gas for 48 minutes to go get wins, to go get W's, and I got another guy as good as me in Luka Doncic, and it's sometimes even better than me, and other nights not as good as me, that's the recipe to success for the Lakers. They got to have Luka deliver. I don't think LeBron is just deferring because he's bored. I don't think LeBron went from being an alpha for 40 years of his life and all of a sudden decided I'm not going to be an alpha. I think LeBron is just being smart. So I think we're looking at it differently with the same result at the end. LeBron's doing it because it's the smart thing to do. Amir, if you were a betting man, who would you pick gets the 6th seed? Good morning and happy Monday. Amir, I appreciate the super. Nick T, thank you for the super. Everybody, I appreciate the comments. Whether you're throwing supers or not, I appreciate it. Amir, who do I think gets the 6? Kind of have a feeling. Let me see strength of schedule here. The problem is I don't know all the tiebreakers. But why do I have a feeling we're going to get stuck with Denver again? I mean, it's a wild guess, right? Because let me see everybody's final few games left. Because I think that probably tells the story more than anything else. All right, let's get another one here. Let me see here. Okay, this is what every team's got left. I'll actually share this with you guys. You guys can look at it while I'm looking at it as well. How crazy is that? You freaking lose one game, you just collapse. Here are the teams. Here what each team got left. Lakers, we know what their schedule is. Okay, Denver. They still got one against the Rockets, one against Memphis, one against Sacramento. Denver, at each one of these teams that they play, Sacramento's playing for something. Memphis, Houston may not be playing for something. I think that's the final game of the regular season for them. We'll see what happens. They won't be playing for anything. They're going to lock up the number 2. Let's see who else we have here. Clippers, Rockets, Warriors, San Antonio, Sacramento. 3 of their 4 games are meaningful. Memphis, Denver, Minnesota, everybody's playing each other. Dallas and Charlotte, 3 of their final 4 games are meaningful. Golden State's got an easy schedule the rest of the way. So they just got the Clippers left, and then look how easy this is. Clippers probably, or Golden State probably trying to lock up that, 4 or 5, but they're going to have to win, probably going to have to win all 4 of these games. If they win all 4 of these games, they probably end up in the number 4 seed. So, and then Minnesota's down here. They got Memphis, Milwaukee, and then they got Brooklyn and Utah, so a much easier schedule for them. It's impossible to predict. It really is. Like, I'm just guessing. So I got no way of doing that. Thank you, Amir, for the super. Okay, let me look at some of the comments here, and then here's one looking like Minnesota. Paying to hate. I don't think people are paying to hate. I think people are paying to get their point across. And if somebody needs to get their point across, I want them to get their point across. So I'm okay with however people want to get their point across, feel free to do so. And the point I'm trying to make is people who disagree with me, I hope, and I really try to emphasize this. If you disagree with me, don't be discouraged not to comment. Comment. If you disagree with me, it's a good conversation we could have back and forth. I'm thinking we end up playing Golden State like always. I don't want to play the Warriors in the first round. I prefer to wait. I prefer to wait on that one. Wolves have the tiebreaker on Denver, so it's hard for them to be the 7th if the standings stay the same. All these squads are playing each other, too. That's the crazy part. All right. Keep things going here. I agree with Nick, minus the crybaby stuff, but LeBron holding back and controlling the defense session makes you say Luka is the best player on the team. LeBron literally can win games on both sides. All right, let me adjust what I said. When I say Luka needs to be the best player on the team, I'm talking specifically about the best offensive player on the team. He's got to drive the offense. Luka's got to be great on offense. He's got to be prolific. He's got to be efficient. He's got to set other guys up. He's got to get his own. He's got to get to the free throw line. He's got to be the best at that. Because saying somebody's the best player on the floor and they're not effective on defense, I see where you're coming from. I don't disagree with that. And yes, LeBron, maybe all of his attention is shifting towards, I'll be the quarterback on defense. He doesn't have to be the best defensive player. I'll be the quarterback. LeBron's the linebacker that kind of is controlling all the plays. And if he's got an audible on defense, he's pointing it out. And if a running back is running in motion or the slot wide receiver is moving right before the snap, he's the one talking about all that. The linebacker, the guy that's in control. You guys remember one of my favorite linebackers to watch back in the day was Brian Urlacher of the Chicago Bears. That dude was everywhere. Now, granted, he was the best defensive player in the league at the time as well, but it was just I'm orchestrating everything. And what I'm referring to is Luka's got to be the best on that side of the floor. I'm taking the right threes. I'm getting to the free throw line. I'm efficient. I found Gabe open. I found Dorian Finney open. I threw a lob to LeBron. I got out of the way for Reeves to cook a little bit. That's what I'm talking about. That's what I'm referring to. Got to feature his number one strength, which is managing the offense since defense is below average. Agreed. Why can't we enjoy both Luka and LeBron instead of discussing who's the best? We need them both to get the ring. I hope I'm not coming off as discussing who's the best. The point I'm trying to make is Luka's got to be the best on offense, because by Luka being the best on offense, that just makes this team so much more dangerous. And you don't need, if LeBron's dropping 35 and Luka's getting 18 and it wasn't good and it was ugly and all that, Lakers are going to lose that game. Where I think Luka can get his 30 and LeBron can still give you 25, 6, and 6, because that's what LeBron does in his sleep. I think that's the point that I'm trying to make. Okay, time for the weekend recap. Thank you for hanging out, everybody. Good show today. What a good start to the week. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. If you're looking for a free consultation, injury attorney can help anybody if you're in an unfortunate position, anybody in the state of California. WallaceWins.com/Sliwa. Shout out. They are our partner here for the weekend recap. Okay, weekend recap. A couple things I'm going to get into, and then we're going to call it a day. And I appreciate all the comments here, too. Very active show today. Phenomenal show. All right, NCAA. Anybody watching the games over the weekend? Florida over Auburn, 79-73. I did not watch that. I think I watched a little bit of the end of that game. Houston-Duke, I stopped watching because Duke was up by 12. And I just assumed that the game was over. And then I look, and I think the score was maybe 67-66, something along those lines. I look with a couple minutes left. I'm like, Duke? Or Houston came back. So I saw the final couple of minutes. Obviously there's a real deal player that's going to be the number one pick in the draft in Cooper Flagg. So you got a little bit more attention because here's a player that is going to be an NBA player, is going to be the number one pick. He got a good shot. I mean, Duke collapsed and still had a chance to get the win. And Cooper Flagg took a shot, got to the middle, inside the free throw line. What do you want to call that? A 12-footer, maybe a 13-footer, shot it short. That was a ball game. Houston ends up winning. Cooper Flagg's moment right there did not obviously capitalize. So today will be the final. Florida versus Houston, 35-4 versus 35-4, two number one seeds. Tip-offs at 5:50. That should be a fun game. If you're not watching the NBA, I don't really think there's really any NBA games going on. So something to keep in mind. I think there's 2 NBA games. I'll look at it right now. But there's your info for college basketball as far as the men's go. Women's, UConn, 12th national championship. They beat South Carolina 82-59. That's just what UConn does. I don't think they had won a national championship since 2016, I want to say. And they make it happen again. They just print championships at UConn. By the way, men's and women's. I mean, men obviously won 2 in a row. Here's UConn winning it for women's. They're making it happen. NBA over the weekend. Wow. What a weekend in the NBA. If you're the Houston Rockets, my God, you got to be feeling a certain way. I got to get Ryan Hollins back on. I'm going to see if he could come back on for Friday's game. But I had a fun time talking to him last week. And I know Lakers beat the Rockets, which, like I said, it was such an interesting week because you had a lot of statement wins. Lakers beat the Rockets. And Lakers beat the Oklahoma City Thunder in the same week. The Rockets beat the Golden State Warriors and the Oklahoma City Thunder in the same weekend, on a Friday and a Sunday. it seemed like there were a few different teams that really took some haymakers over the weekend, and some of them took them and some of them threw them. Exciting games over the weekend, like I mentioned, but those were the games that really stood out to me. The Warriors were playing phenomenal basketball, and then they finally get an L and they drop in the standings. So standings right now, as we sit here, it's you got so many teams that are all obviously in this race. Denver, Clippers, Golden State, Minnesota, and Memphis all have 32 losses. Luckily for the Lakers, they got 30. They got some tiebreakers. I hope by the time we get to Friday, we're all chilling and we know where the Lakers are, and we know that standings-wise, they're going to be in that number 3 spot. But that's how congested it is, and it's phenomenal to watch. Scores in the NBA, I want to just look. Kings play the Pistons tonight. Sixers play the Heat. So really, there's no significance in any of these games. It's a meaningful game for Sacramento, for the play-in. I don't know for the Pistons if this game means anything. Frankly, I don't really feel like looking at the East standings. Detroit. No, it's a meaningful game for Detroit as well. They need one too, with Milwaukee and them kind of fighting for that 5-6 matchup. Okay, last thing I want to get into is just Major League Baseball. MLB standings is a trip as well. So I'm watching the Padres yesterday. Freaking score 3 runs in the first inning, then give up 5 in the first, in the bottom half of the first. They were at Chicago. Then go down 7-3, and then find a way to win the game 8-7. So I go look at the standings, and I know the Dodgers were in Philly. Good games in between the Dodgers and the Philadelphia Phillies. But you go look at the standings, and you're thinking here, okay, well, Dodgers obviously they got 2 losses, Padres got 2 losses. Okay, well, obviously the Dodgers are going to be in first place in the NL West. San Francisco's 8-1. They've won 7 games in a row. If you have 2 losses in the NL West, you're in third place in the NL West. What? I mean, I'll look at it from this perspective as well. I know I mentioned it last week that the 3 best records in all of Major League Baseball was San Francisco, the Dodgers, and the Padres. And right now, the 4 best records, Giants 8-1, Dodgers 9-2, Texas 8-2, and then the Padres 8-2. So you got a lot of teams winning some games. Philly right behind everybody as well, 7-2. They took 2 or 3 from the Dodgers. One piece of news that came out of the Dodgers yesterday, Blake Snell put on the IL with shoulder inflammation. He's on the 15-day injured list with left shoulder inflammation, so something to keep in mind there. We'll say this, the one thing when the Dodgers signed Blake Snell, and listen, the Dodgers are doing something I think that is a little bit different than what they've done before. I think the last couple of years, I think since they got Shohei, they're kind of just F it. We're going to go sign real talent, and we don't care if they have a little bit of an injury history. Tyler Glasnow has had injury history, was not available for the playoffs. They signed Blake Snell to 5 years, $182 million. Blake Snell is, kind of been in and out of the lineup. It's not like that guy's a lock, but they don't care. And they got a crazy amount of talent, and they're going to take their chances. And I think that's part of like this commitment with Shohei. Once they signed Shohei, it was like, we're making more money than we can possibly make. We're just going to go spend the money. And at the end of the day, all you need is these guys to be healthy for the postseason, because they got so much talent. Winning the division, I don't think is going to be a question, even with what I just said about the Giants and the Padres doing what they've done. All right, that's our weekend recap. Shout out to Brad Wallace and the Wallace firm for being a great partner and sponsoring this segment of the weekend recap. Let me read a couple more comments, and then we're out of here. And we're going to get the hell out of here. Everyone can go enjoy their day after this. Let's see what we got here. Subscribe if you haven't subscribed yet, my people. I appreciate that. That's right. Freddie Freeman had some kind of slip up in the shower or something like that. Foddy knows what's going on. All right, he's got it there. San Francisco's first in the West. It makes no sense to me. How the hell is that possible? I believe Flagg has a winning. I think Cooper Flagg is going to be a baller. I really do. I think he's going to be a good player. So we'll see what happens in regards to that. Flagg to the Spurs would be crazy. Who's got, let me see, best lottery odds 2025 NBA. Love Google. Love Google. Just type in anything. Everything's there for you. All right, the teams with the best odds to get Cooper Flag: Utah, Washington, Charlotte, and New Orleans. You team them up with Zion and DeJounte Murray and CJ McCollum, a couple of those guys, that'd be fun. Utah, they're all in. I mean, trying to think here. Would he be a good fit in Utah? You got Lauri Markkanen, you got Walker Kessler, you got Jordan Clarkson, you got Colin Sexton. They need help. Only problem is if this guy goes to Washington or Charlotte, doesn't it just feel like those are just two awful franchises? Philly's got a 10.5% chance of getting him. Okay, that'd be interesting. All right, those are Brooklyn's got a 9% chance. San Antonio's got a 6% chance. Never know. I mean, hell, if he went there, geez. All right, let's see what else we got here. All right, I think we're good to go. My people, thank you very much for being a part of the show today. Went a solid $120. Thank you for all the comments. Thank you for the super chats. Thank you for the new members that we got. Welcome to our new members. Thank you very much to Link that made it happen and to Joseph that made it happen. Shout out to Anthony with the super sticker. Everybody else that put up, obviously supers as well. I'll be back on tomorrow morning at 8 a.m. So thank you for being a part of the show. Probably a guest tomorrow. I'm not 100% sure which guest, but I'll probably have a guest for tomorrow's show. Either somebody talking Lake Show or somebody talking OKC Thunder. One of the two is going to happen. Appreciate you guys being on. Hope you guys have a great rest of your day, and I'll be back tomorrow at 8 a.m. Please subscribe to the channel, and have a great Monday, rest of your Monday.